Sometimes, the right words spoken at the right time can change the entire game. Imagine if just 5 simple words could flip the script, shift the power, and make him chase you like never before. Are you ready to learn the secret? Words are not just sounds that leave our lips, they are forces. They carry the power to build or to break, to inspire or to discourage, to ignite a fire or to extinguish it. Think about this. A single phrase, just a few letters strung together, can shift a person's entire emotional state. You can say something that makes someone feel like they're on top of the world, or something that makes them doubt themselves in a matter of seconds. Words are energy, and when spoken with purpose, they vibrate at a frequency that penetrates deeper than action alone. That's why the right 5 words, spoken at the right time, can spark an unstoppable chain reaction. They're not just words, they're weapons, tools, keys to unlocking attraction and influence. But here's the truth, most people underestimate them. They think words are casual, something to be tossed around without much thought. That's why they fail to create impact. They text carelessly, they speak without intention, and they wonder why their relationships lack spark. But when you learn to treat words like gold, something valuable, something that must be chosen carefully, suddenly you hold the advantage. Because while everyone else is speaking just to fill silence, you'll be speaking to shift emotions. And when you can move someone emotionally, you can move them physically, mentally, and even spiritually. Words are the invisible strings that pull at the heart, and whoever controls those strings controls the rhythm of the dance. Think about moments in your own life when words shook you. Maybe someone told you, "I believe in you," and it gave you the courage to keep going when you wanted to quit. Or maybe someone said, "You'll never make it." And for days, weeks, even years, those words echoed in your head. You see, it's not the size of the word, it's the weight of it, the meaning, the delivery, the timing. Words stick. They don't disappear after they're spoken. They live inside the mind, they replay, they haunt, they inspire. And if they have that much power over us, imagine how much power they have when used intentionally on someone else. Here's what most people miss. Attraction doesn't just happen in the body, it begins in the mind. And the mind is fed by words. That's why some people chase, because their mind is constantly being fed words that spark desire, curiosity, and longing. Words paint pictures, words create stories, and the brain loves stories. You can make someone see you as irreplaceable simply by how you craft your message, how you phrase your thoughts, how you deliver a text. 5 words. Just 5 words can be enough to make someone feel urgency, to make them stop and think. What did that mean? Why did they say that? I need to know more. And once their mind locks onto you, their actions will follow. Now let's be clear, the words themselves are only half the story. The other half is how you say them. You could whisper them, and they'll have one effect. You could say them with fire in your tone, and they'll have another. Delivery is everything. Think of it like music. The same notes can sound dull or electric depending on who's playing them. That's how words work. You could send a plain text that says nothing, or you could send a message that keeps someone awake at night, replaying it over and over in their head. Same letters, different impact. That's the power of presence behind the words. And here's where the magic lies. When you realize that words aren't just communication, they're influence, they're strategy, they're attraction. Every sentence you speak or type is either pushing someone toward you or away from you. That's why being careless with words is dangerous, but being intentional with them, that's unstoppable. Imagine holding that kind of power in your hands, the ability to shift someone's focus, to guide their emotions, to trigger their curiosity, all with 5 simple words, That's not a small thing, that's everything. And that's why when you master the power of words, you don't have to chase anyone. Because the moment you speak with intention, the chase begins from the other side. Mystery is not about playing games, it's about holding something back. It's about creating space between what you show and what you keep hidden. That space, that unknown, is what makes people lean in closer. Desire doesn't come from giving everything away. Desire comes from leaving just enough unsaid, just enough unrevealed to spark curiosity. Think of it like a movie trailer. A good trailer doesn't show you the entire film. It gives you flashes, glimpses, hints that make you say, I need to see more. That's how mystery works in attraction. It's not about deception, it's about mastery. The mastery of not giving everything away all at once. See, most people make the mistake of overexposing themselves. They think, if I tell him everything, if I make myself fully available, if I show all my cards, he'll want me more. But the truth is the opposite. When you reveal everything too quickly, you leave nothing to discover. And without discovery, there's no excitement. Humans are wired to chase what feels just out of reach. We crave the puzzle, the challenge, the unknown. That's why mystery isn't weakness, it's strategy. It's understanding that attraction is a spark, and that spark dies if it burns too fast. So you control the flame. You let it glow, flicker, dance, but you don't let it consume all at once. That's how you keep him wanting more. Think about the people you couldn't stop thinking about. It wasn't always because they were the most beautiful, the most successful, or the most popular. It was often because there was something about them you couldn't quite figure out. They had layers, depth, shadows, secrets. They gave you just enough to be intrigued, but never enough to be satisfied. That's the pull of mystery. It hooks the mind. It makes you replay conversations in your head, searching for clues. It makes you check your phone, waiting for the next message. It makes you chase, because desire feeds on curiosity, and curiosity is born in the unknown. Mystery also communicates value. When you don't give everything away, you're silently saying, I am worth discovering. You're sending the message that your time, your attention, your inner world are not things that anyone can access freely. And when something feels rare, people want it more. Think about luxury brands. They don't flood the market. They release limited editions. They keep things exclusive. They make people wait. And because of that, people line up for hours just for the chance to have it. The same principle applies here. Scarcity creates value, and mystery creates scarcity. When you hold back just enough, you become a limited edition. You become someone he can't stop chasing because he knows he doesn't have all of you yet. But let's be clear, mystery doesn't mean being cold, distant, or manipulative. It doesn't mean shutting down or refusing to share. It means being intentional. It means revealing pieces of yourself like chapters in a book, not dumping the whole story in one sitting. Each chapter leaves the reader hungry for the next. Each conversation leaves him wondering, what else is there? What haven't I learned yet? And when you master this rhythm of reveal and conceal, you don't just attract attention, you hold it. Because attention without mystery fades fast. But attention fed by curiosity, that lasts. So, when you think about those 5 words, remember this. They're not powerful because they explain everything. They're powerful because they don't. They open a door but don't let him see the whole room. They drop a hint but leave out the answer. They give just enough to trigger the chase, because when someone doesn't know everything, they crave more. When someone doesn't feel like they've figured you out, they can't let go. That's why mystery creates desire. It keeps the chase alive. It keeps the fire burning. It keeps him coming back again and again because he knows there's still more to discover. Confidence is the energy that pulls people in without you lifting a finger. It's the unspoken signal that says, I know my worth. I don't need to beg for attention. I am the prize here. See, attraction doesn't begin with how you look or even what you say. It begins with how you carry yourself. You can send the same 5 words as someone else, but if your energy is dripping with insecurity, they'll land flat. Deliver them with confidence, though, and suddenly those words carry weight. Confidence is the amplifier that turns whispers into echoes. It's the magnet that makes people notice you, remember you, and chase you. But here's the truth most people don't want to face. Confidence isn't about pretending. It's not about faking a smile or acting tough when inside you're crumbling. Real confidence comes from knowing your value, even when others don't see it. It's the deep belief that you don't need to prove yourself to anyone, and that belief radiates through everything. Your posture, your tone, your silence, even your presence in the room. People can feel it. Confidence isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's in the way you pause before responding, or in the way you walk away when something doesn't serve you. That kind of strength can't be ignored. Think about the people you've seen who light up a room without even trying. They don't beg for attention, yet attention finds them. They don't force conversations, yet people lean in to hear what they say. That's the power of confidence. It's magnetic. It's irresistible, because deep down we're all drawn to certainty. We're drawn to people who know who they are and where they stand. When you show up with confidence, you become that certainty. You become the anchor in a world full of hesitation, doubt, and insecurity, and in relationships, that's intoxicating. It makes someone want to hold on tighter, chase harder, and never let go. Now, here's the key. Confidence isn't just about how you feel about yourself. It's also about how you teach others to treat you. When you stand tall in your value, you naturally set boundaries. You don't settle for less than you deserve. You don't beg for crumbs of attention when you know you deserve the whole loaf. And when someone sees that you're not afraid to walk away, it shifts the dynamic. It makes them chase because they realize they can't take you for granted. Confidence communicates that you are not desperate. And nothing is more attractive than someone who doesn't need you but chooses you. But here's the challenge. Too many people confuse arrogance with confidence. Arrogance pushes people away, but confidence draws them closer. Arrogance says, I'm better than you. Confidence says, I know my worth, and I also see yours. That's the balance. When your confidence is rooted in respect for yourself and for others, it doesn't just attract attention, it earns admiration. And admiration is far stronger than attraction alone. Admiration is what keeps someone chasing long after the spark of physical desire fades. Because when they admire you, they don't just want you, they value you. So when you text those 5 words, remember this, they only work if they're coming from a place of confidence. If you believe in your value, those words become powerful. If you doubt yourself, they fall flat. It's not just what you say, it's the energy behind it. Confidence is the invisible ink that makes those words glow. It tells him, without explanation, I don't need to chase. You will chase me. And when you own that energy, you don't just attract attention. You command it. You don't just create desire. You sustain it, because confidence, above all else, is the real magnet. Attraction is a dance. And in every dance, there's a leader and a follower. Most people get caught up in chasing because they give away the lead too quickly. They hand over the power without realizing it, but here's the truth: the moment you shift the balance, everything changes. The one who was once doing the chasing becomes the one being chased. The one who was giving all the energy suddenly becomes the one receiving it. It's not about games. It's about recognizing the natural pull of human desire. People always want what feels like it's slipping away, and they chase what doesn't beg to be caught. Think about it: when you run towards someone too fast, they instinctively step back. It's not rejection, it's human nature. We all crave freedom, and when someone comes on too strong, it feels like pressure. But when you step back, when you lean out instead of leaning in, you create space. And in that space, something powerful happens. He starts leaning forward, he feels the imbalance, he notices the shift. Suddenly, he's not the one being pursued. He's the one doing the pursuing. That's how you flip the dynamic without saying a word. You don't beg, you don't chase, you simply step back and let him feel the loss of your energy. This shift in balance is about self-control. It's about resisting the urge to overgive, overtext, or overprove yourself. Because every time you give more than you receive, you tip the scales against yourself. And when the scales are tipped too far, attraction dies. But when you hold back just enough, when you let him come to you, you restore equilibrium. And in that balance, he feels the need to chase. Why? Because suddenly he realizes he's at risk of losing something valuable, and nothing ignites desire like the fear of loss. That fear is what makes people take action, send that text, make that call, show up uninvited, because the balance has shifted. But here's what most people miss. Shifting the balance doesn't mean being cold or distant. It doesn't mean ignoring someone just to get their attention. It means recognizing your worth and adjusting your energy accordingly. It means if he's giving 50, you're not giving 100. You match energy, or you give slightly less, because that's what keeps the scales tilted in your favor. And when the scales tip toward you, you gain the power to set the tone, to set the pace, to set the standard. That's how you stay in control of the dynamic without ever raising your voice or forcing his hand. This shift also works because it awakens something primal. Humans are hunters by nature. We chase what we desire, but if the prey runs toward us, the thrill is gone, the excitement dies. That's why when you stop chasing, when you stop making yourself too easy, you reignite the instinct to pursue. You remind him that your presence is not guaranteed, that your attention is not free, that your time is not unlimited. And that reminder flips a switch in his brain. Suddenly, he starts asking himself, what do I have to do to keep her attention? How do I make sure I don't lose her? That's the power of shifting the balance. And here's the beauty of it. Once you learn to control this balance, you never have to worry about chasing anyone again, because you understand the psychology at play. You know that by stepping back, you pull him forward. By creating space, you create desire. By refusing to overgive, you invite him to give more. That's why balance is everything. Relationships are like scales, and the one who tips them wisely holds the power. So, if you want him to chase you nonstop, don't run toward him. Step back, shift the balance, and let him do what human nature is wired to do: pursue. Scarcity is one of the most powerful forces in human psychology. When something feels rare, it automatically feels more valuable. Think about diamonds. They're just stones, yet the world chases after them because they're limited, hard to find, and difficult to access. The same principle applies in attraction. If you make yourself too available, too accessible, too easy to reach, your value decreases in his eyes, not because you're less worthy, but because the human brain is wired to undervalue you what it can get without effort. Scarcity makes people pay attention. Scarcity makes people act. Scarcity makes people chase. Now here's where most people sabotage themselves. They give unlimited access. They answer every text in seconds, clear their schedule at a moment's notice, and bend over backward just to prove their interest. But what does that communicate? It says, I'm always here. I'm always available. I don't need to be earned. And when something doesn't need to be earned, it's taken for granted. It loses its shine. It becomes ordinary. But when you step back, when you let your presence feel scarce, suddenly he starts to value it. Suddenly he realizes that every moment with you is not guaranteed, that every reply from you is not automatic, that every piece of your attention is a privilege, not a given. Think about the last time you lost access to something you loved. Maybe your favorite restaurant closed for a while. Maybe your favorite product sold out. What happened? You wanted it more. You thought about it constantly. You couldn't wait for the chance to have it again. That's the psychology of scarcity. We desire most what we can't have easily. We prioritize what feels limited. We chase after what we're afraid of losing. And in relationships, that's exactly why scarcity drives action. When he feels like you could walk away at any time, when he knows you're not glued to him, when he senses your independence, he moves differently. He chases harder, he values more. Scarcity also creates urgency. If he feels you'll always be there, he has no reason to act now. He can delay, procrastinate, take his time, but if he feels like his chance with you could disappear, suddenly he feels the pressure. Suddenly he realizes, if I don't move now, I might lose her. And urgency is what transforms thought into action. That's when he sends the good morning texts, makes the plans, invests the effort, because he knows the window isn't wide open forever. And urgency born from scarcity doesn't just make him act, it makes him act consistently. Because once he feels that fear of loss, he never wants to feel it again. But let's be clear, scarcity doesn't mean withholding love or affection out of spite. It doesn't mean playing games or pretending to be someone you're not. It means living your life in such a way that you're not always accessible. It means having your own goals, your own friends, your own passions, your own world outside of him. It means he doesn't get all of your time just because he asks for it. He earns it. When you have a life that is full and rich, you naturally become scarce. And that scarcity doesn't push him away, it pulls him closer. Because people are drawn to what feels rare, and a woman who knows her value will always be rare. Here's the bottom line. People chase what feels limited. They invest in what they believe they might lose. They prioritize what doesn't come easily. So if you want him to chase you nonstop, don't flood him with unlimited access. Don't be everywhere all the time. Be scarce, be intentional, be the diamond in the room, not the stone in the street. And once he feels that scarcity, once he realizes that you are not easily replaced, he won't stop chasing. Because scarcity doesn't just drive action, it drives commitment. It makes him value you more than he ever thought possible. Attraction isn't built on logic, it's built on emotion. A man doesn't chase because it makes sense. He chases because something inside of him is stirred, something deeper than reason, something that touches his heart, his pride, or his desire. That something is what we call the emotional trigger. And here's the truth. Words by themselves are not enough. A text can be read, understood, even appreciated, but unless it sparks an emotion, it won't create movement. People act on feelings, not facts. That's why those 5 words aren't just a sentence. They're a switch. They flip on an emotion that makes him restless, curious, hungry for more. And once that switch is on, the chase begins. Now, emotional triggers can take many forms. They can spark curiosity, making him wonder, what did she mean by that? They can spark urgency, making him think, if I don't act now, I'll lose her. They can spark desire, making him feel, I need her in my life. The best triggers are subtle. They don't scream for attention. They whisper into his subconscious, and the more he tries to shake the thought, the deeper it digs in. That's why the most powerful messages don't explain everything. They hint at something bigger. They open a loop in the mind, and the human brain can't stand an open loop. It craves closure. It craves answers. That craving turns into pursuit. Think of it like a song that gets stuck in your head. You don't even know why it's replaying, but you can't shake it. That's exactly how emotional triggers work. A single phrase, a single look, a single silence can echo inside someone's mind long after the moment has passed. And the more it echoes, the more it grows. That's when he starts checking his phone more often, replaying your words in his head, wondering what you're thinking, wondering what you're doing. That's when he feels the pull to chase, because the emotion inside him won't let him rest until he gets the answer, until he feels the connection, until he's close to you again. The key, though, is authenticity. Emotional triggers only work when they're real. If you try to manipulate with empty words, he'll feel the hollowness. But if your words come from a place of truth, strength, and confidence, they carry power. A genuine laugh, a heartfelt pause, an honest message delivered at the right time can do more than 100 rehearsed lines, because authenticity is its own trigger. It touches the human core, and when someone feels you're being real with them, they drop their guard. That's when the emotion hits hardest. That's when the chase becomes unstoppable. But here's the warning. Not all triggers are positive. You don't want to spark fear that makes him run, or insecurity that makes him shut down. The goal is not to manipulate, it's to inspire. It's to awaken the emotions that build attraction, not destroy it. Curiosity, desire, excitement, even a touch of challenge. These are the emotions that make him lean forward. These are the triggers that make him put in effort, not out of obligation, but out of genuine hunger. Because when his emotions are engaged, his actions will follow without you forcing them. That's the real secret. And this is why those 5 words are so powerful. They don't explain. They don't give closure. They don't answer every question. Instead, they open a door and walk away, leaving him standing there, wondering what's behind it. That wonder, that craving for answers, is the emotional trigger, and once it's activated, he'll chase, not because you begged, not because you demanded, but because his own emotions won't let him rest until he does. That's why the emotional trigger is the secret weapon. It doesn't force attraction. It awakens it. It doesn't beg for the chase. It creates it. And once it's lit, the fire burns nonstop. So remember this. Attraction isn't about chasing, begging, or proving your worth. It's about knowing your value, speaking with intention, and using your presence like the rare treasure it is. 5 simple words, backed by confidence, mystery, scarcity, and emotional power, can flip the entire script. When you own your voice, you own the room. When you own your worth, you own the chase. And when you master the art of balance, you'll never have to run after anyone again, because they'll be running after you. The question isn't, will he chase? The question is, are you ready to be chased nonstop?